From some of the oldest U.S. military traditions to some of the weirdest tech to ever go to war, to the largest collection of floating airports in the world, the U.S. Navy isn't just about ships and sailors, it's a floating circus of bizarre brilliance. Dive in as we uncover some of the world's most powerful Navy weird on today's episode of 5 Weird Things. Welcome to the channel. First, like, subscribe, share the channel. Now, I have a lot of military in my family history. If you go back to World War II, and my great-great-grandfather was one of the most decorated Navy men in Southern California. So why did you join the Navy? Or why didn't you? Let me know down in the comments. All right, let's get into it. First, the things we all need to know. The U.S. Navy was founded on October 13th, 1775, making it 248 years old as of 2024. Born during the American Revolutionary War, it started with just a few wooden ships and a serious, let's annoy the British type attitude. Today, it's the world's most powerful naval force, boasting aircraft carriers, submarines, and enough firepower to make Poseidon sweat. Tasked with sea dominance, maritime security, and global presence, the Navy ensures the freedom of the seas, responds to crisis, and occasionally saves dolphins and sailors from questionable decisions. From the Battle of Midway to launching Tomahawk missiles, the Navy has evolved into a floating fortress of democracy. And the best branch if you enjoy both danger and beautiful ocean views. Everybody got that? Good. Weird thing number 5. The U.S. Navy, floating airports, and a ridiculous number of boats. If you've ever wondered, does the U.S. Navy have more stuff than everybody else combined? The answer is, yeah, pretty much. The U.S. Navy isn't just a branch of the military. It's a floating empire armed with jets and an unreasonable number of cafeteria trays. Let's compare. U.S. Air Force, whose entire thing is just planes, has about 5,200 aircraft, but the Navy is sneakily hoarding almost as many under the guise of floating airfields, aka aircraft carriers. If branches of the military were family members, the Air Force would be the flashy older sibling showing off their cool jets, while the Navy would be the quiet middle child building an entire fleet of floating airports in international waters. And then there's the U.S. Army, the land-loving cousin with only around 300 aircraft and notably 0 aircraft carriers. Globally, things get even more absurd. The Chinese Navy, known as Plan, technically has more ships, over 350 of them. But many of them are smaller patrol boats and corvettes. Meanwhile, the U.S. Navy has 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, floating cities of steel with massive firepower, enough to make Poseidon himself reconsider his life choices. And let's not forget the Royal Navy from the United Kingdom. That has a grand total of 2 aircraft carriers. Oh, that's adorable. The reality is this, the U.S. Navy isn't just a military branch, it's a floating apocalypse machine wrapped in bureaucracy and occasionally armed with dolphins. If navies were constantly in a reality show, the U.S. Navy would show up in sunglasses, shrug, and say, "I brought my own ocean, hope you don't mind." In conclusion, the U.S. Navy has so many ships and planes that if it decided to become its own country, it would instantly rank among the world's top superpowers. Weird thing number 4. The Navy Marine Mammal Program, dolphins, sea lions, and classified flipper business. In the 1960s, the U.S. Navy decided to enlist some of the ocean's most talented swimmers, not elite human divers, but the bottlenose dolphins and California sea lions. The Navy Marine Mammal Program, the NMMP, was born, blending military strategy with marine biology in a way that sounds like a rejected Disney Channel original movie. The program's main goal, mine detection, underwater surveillance, and equipment recovery. Dolphins, with their echolocation abilities, are basically underwater sonar systems that don't require batteries, and sea lions have nimble flippers perfect for retrieving lost tools or handcuffing unsuspecting enemy divers. And yes, that is a real thing sea lions have been trained to do. During the Cold War, these aquatic operatives were deployed in places like Vietnam and the Persian Gulf, silently patrolling harbors and sniffing out underwater mines. Dolphins can detect metallic objects buried under layers of sand, and they do it better than most high-tech Navy equipment. The program has not been without controversy. Animal rights groups have long questioned the ethics of using marine mammals in military operations. The Navy insists that their Marine recruits receive top-notch care, better dental plans than most sailors, and all the fish they can eat. Results? Wildly successful. These marine mammals have located unexploded ordnance, retrieved lost equipment, and even prevented underwater sabotage. Some estimates claim dolphins and sea lions have saved countless lives, proving themselves to be more than just adorable performers at marine parks. Today, the NMMP operates mainly out of San Diego, and while most of their work remains classified, one thing is clear. If the Dolphins ever unionize, the Navy is in a lot of trouble. In conclusion, it's not every day you hear about Flipper taking on international espionage, but here we are, living in a world where sea lions are literal secret agents. Weird thing number 3. 5 of the US Navy's weirdest futuristic equipment. The US Navy is not just about ships and sailors anymore, it's basically Tony Stark's Ocean Division. First up, the laser weapon system known as LAWS. Yes, the Navy has real-life lasers, and no, they can't slice planets in half yet. The laser weapon system, LAWS, can zap drones, small boats, and incoming missiles with pinpoint accuracy. The best part? Each shot costs only about $1 US, making it cheaper than your average gas station soda. The railgun. The electromagnetic railgun is what happens when the Navy says, guns are cool, but what if they shot bullets at Mach 7? Using electromagnetic force, this weapon fires projectiles at targets over 100 miles away at hypersonic speeds. The downside? It requires so much power it will dim the lights in nearby states. Then there's the USS Zumwalt-class destroyer. These stealth ships look like something out of a dystopian sci-fi movie. Angular, radar-resistant, slightly menacing. The USS Zumwalt is designed to sneak up on enemies while packing enough firepower to remind them who's the boss. Think ninja warship with Wi-Fi. And then, unmanned underwater vehicles, UUVs. Underwater drones, or UUVs, are the Navy's secret underwater spies. They can search for mines, map the ocean floor, or snoop around enemy waters, all without needing air, food, or vacation days. Basically, they're the James Bond of the deep sea, if Bond was waterproof and had no complaints about overtime. And finally, the Sea Hunter, an autonomous warship. The Sea Hunter is the Navy's AI-powered ghost ship, fully autonomous vessel that can track enemy submarines for months without human intervention. No crew quarters, no kitchen, just cold, unfeeling efficiency. Somewhere, a sailor is weeping at the thought of no more midnight ramen noodles on deployment. The Navy isn't just sailing into the future, it's full throttle, hyper-speeding straight into it. Weird thing number 2. The 5 weirdest US Navy traditions where the sea meets weird. The US Navy is home to some truly unique traditions, some rooted in history, others born out of sheer boredom during really long deployments. Here are 5 of the oddest Navy customs that I could find that prove sometimes the line between tradition and what were we thinking is a very fine one. First, the crossing the line ceremony. When sailors cross the equator for the first time, they undergo a bizarre initiation known as the crossing the line ceremony. Newbies, known as polywogs, are dunked in water, painted, made to perform ridiculous tasks. It's all in the name of tradition, but really, it's just an excuse to throw the new guy overboard, right? Welcome to the Navy. The kissing the fish ritual. I don't know if it's a euphemism, this is just what I read. At some point in your Navy career, you'll be expected to kiss a fish. Not for a dare, but as part of a ceremonial rite during the crossing the line initiation. It's a tradition where sailors kiss the belly of a fish as a symbol of becoming a seasoned sailor. You could be kissing fish scales and bacteria, whatever it takes to feel like you've truly earned your sea legs. And then, the shellback ceremony. Once you've survived crossing the line ceremonies, you officially become a shellback. This title is reserved for those who have crossed the equator, and it comes with the privilege of wearing a shellback certificate that you've endured some really weird initiation rituals. The mess deck meal. Let's be clear, the mess deck meal tradition is not a fancy dining experience. It's a tradition where sailors gather to eat food so mysterious, it might as well have come from another planet. The worst part? No one talks about it. Like the first rule of Fight Club, no one talks about the mess deck meal. Probably because if you do, someone might make you eat another serving. the no shower tradition. During extended deployments, sailors often go days, sometimes weeks without showers because who needs hygiene when you have the open sea? The Navy tradition, nicknamed the sea shower, is all about embracing that salty, unwashed lifestyle. Why shower when you can just spray yourself down with salt water and call it good? In the end, Navy traditions often feel like they're a mix of ancient ritual, fear factor, and things you probably shouldn't be doing with a fish. But hey, it's all part of what makes life at sea unforgettable. And finally, weird thing number 1, the Philadelphia experiment. Science mixed with myth, confused by weird with a smack of madness. Full disclosure, there is absolutely no proof any of the following is true. The Navy disavows it, but this story has dogged the Navy for over 80 years and it has not died out yet. The Philadelphia experiment is one of the most bizarre and persistent legends tied to the U.S. Navy. Allegedly conducted in October of 1953 at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, the experiment was said to be an attempt to render the USS Eldridge, a destroyer escort, invisible to enemy radar. Sounds reasonable for wartime science, right? Well, the story doesn't stop there. Using an experimental application of Einstein's unified field theory, scientists supposedly created an electromagnetic force field around the ship. The result, according to legend, not only did the ship vanish from radar, it also disappeared entirely, reappearing hundreds of miles away in Norfolk, Virginia, before teleporting back to Philadelphia. But teleportation was not the worst part. Witnesses claimed that sailors suffered horrible side effects. Some allegedly fused with the ship's metal hull. Others went insane. A few simply vanished into thin air. It's the kind of nightmare scenario you would expect from a Twilight Zone episode rather than a military operation. The U.S. Navy firmly denies that such an experiment ever took place, maintaining that the USS Eldridge was never even in Philadelphia during the alleged timeline. Skeptics point out that the story likely stems from a misunderstanding of degaussing technology, a real method used to reduce a ship's magnetic field to protect it from underwater mines. The tale gained momentum thanks to Carl Allen, or Carlos Allende, who claimed to have witnessed the experiment, documented it in letters filled with pseudoscience and wildly increasing accusations. Whether it was a scientific breakthrough gone horribly wrong, a sailor's tall tale, or just wartime paranoia, the Philadelphia experiment remains a captivating piece of naval folklore. And real or not, serves as a reminder that sometimes the truth isn't nearly as entertaining as a really good ghost story wrapped in military secrecy or electromagnetic fields, whatever one scares you most. Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it made you want to go and join the Navy, or run and hide from the Navy. Either way, watch more of my videos. Take care. Have yourself a great day.